Hey there, YouTube. It is Sanai Floyd here, business breakthrough coach and sales mentor. And this is actually the first time I have ever done a live stream straight into YouTube. So, welcome to my channel. I am so excited to be able to speak to you in this way. And today, for my very first live stream into YouTube, I want to talk to you about how to develop your consistency muscle and build good habits, because this is so important, especially if you are a coaching entrepreneur, if you're in your own business. I mean, not especially, this is important for any area and every area of your personal growth and self-improvement, but it is also critical if you are a coaching entrepreneur in your own business. So if you are somebody who struggles with consistency, maybe you have lots of half-read books on your bookshelf that you've been meaning to finish. Maybe you've invested in lots of different courses that are filling your inbox and you've not completed them. Maybe there are some that you've not even started. And there is a general lack of follow-through on your commitments to yourself, whether that's, in the field of showing up, posting consistently, doing regular live streams or videos, whether it's in relation to your health, your mindset, your mental well-being and your physical well-being. If you start a diet and then you drop off it, you start an exercise ritual and before long you've forgotten that you started it because you're no longer doing it. Now, if any of that resonates with you, then this is for you. And there is absolutely no judgment here. I am as guilty as the next person. And it used to be one of my most, I would say, the one thing I was consistent in is my inconsistency. And I was very consistent at having the narrative going round and round in my mind that I am inconsistent. I never follow through. I never stick at anything. That was my story. And so as that was my story, it became my identity. And I lived into that identity very, very effectively, very well. But as I said at the beginning, consistency is critical to your growth, your self-improvement. And over time, these daily disciplines become the habits that shape us and define our direction and, of course, our destiny. So when we follow through on our promises to ourselves, which is what being consistent is really all about, then we learn to trust ourselves and we feel more confident in our ability to achieve and accomplish what it is we want to achieve and accomplish. So I have actually developed my consistency muscle over time because I was absolutely sick of letting myself down. So I've actually just completed a 60-day run of daily live streaming, obviously not on YouTube, because this is my first time, but on other platforms such as Facebook and LinkedIn. And so having completed that, it feels great. And it's just one of many sort of 30-day, 45 and 60-day challenges that I have set myself, committed to and followed through on. And over time, because I've done that and used these hacks that I'm going to share with you right now, it's been game changing. It's been life changing. And many of those challenges that I set myself now are just part of my daily rituals, part of my daily routines. I don't even need to think about them anymore and they just get done. So I really want to support you in flexing that muscle. So in no particular order, here are the kind of top 10 strategies and hacks that have really helped me to stick to my commitments to myself. So the first thing, I've already alluded to it already, but the first thing is to change your narrative about being inconsistent. Because if you aren't following through, then you've probably developed a mentation, as I like to call them, a negative story about yourself that you never follow through. And so you've got to change that story. That's the first thing, is start to affirm that you always follow through. Affirm consistency. Even if you think, well, I'll be lying to myself, and I know I'm lying to myself, then you can begin to just tell a story that may sound like, I love knowing that I can see things through that are important to me. That's a kind of easing your way into greater consistency and telling a different story for yourself. The second thing is to always have a clear purpose, a big enough why that that will see you through those moments where you start to wobble and waver on your commitment. So have a really clear and powerful and purposeful why. The third thing, and this has just been absolutely game changing for me, is tracking your daily activities. So what I do is I have a big chart on my wall, like it's a whiteboard sheet. You can get them on Amazon, and just stick one on your wall, create a grid, and then every single day that you complete your activity, mark it off with a big cross. And as you do that over time, you start to get more obsessed with not breaking the chain as you're doing your crosses on your grid. So then you don't want to break the chain, and that becomes sometimes more important and more compelling than doing the actual activity itself. But you're building your habit, you're creating a pattern, a neuro association in your body with that new habit. So tracking is really important. The next thing is schedule the activity into your daily calendar. Now, Tony Robbins always says, if it's scheduled, it gets done. So put it in as part of your daily activities. So once it's in your calendar, once it's written that down, you're more likely to stick to it. The other thing is set reminders in your phone. When you see those reminders in your phone, it just triggers that commitment, so that you're more likely to follow through. You remember it, 'cause it's so easy. If it's a new thing that you're doing, you're more likely to forget. So set those reminders. Another strategy, let me just see where I'm at. I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so this is number 6. So write a note to your future self who may try to hijack you with convincing mind chatter. So what do I mean by this? So you know that in that excitement, when you get started, you feel really pumped, you feel really excited, you feel great. Whatever the commitment you've made to yourself in those early days, it feels exciting, it feels great. You think nothing's going to stop me. But then you get to around day 6 or day 7, maybe even you might get to day 10. There's going to be a time when you're going to start getting some resistance to following through. That mental chatter will start saying, you've been so good, take a break, or, oh, you're tired, you don't need to do it today. Or, for example, for me, this is my experience when I was live streaming, I started to get, oh, you're a bit too much, it's too much now, quieten down, So I started to get that mental chatter. So you will start to get that resistance, because as you're developing this muscle of consistency, you're growing. So it's natural for resistance to come in. So one thing that really helped me was I wrote a future note to myself. And it's like, dear future self, you are going to be hijacked by your old self, who is going to try and tell you stuff to pull you back down and stop you from following through. Don't listen to the voice in your head. It is lying to you. And I wrote it down. So when I started to get that resistance, I read the note from my old self and went, oh, yes, this person, well, it's not your old self that's writing the note, it's your higher self. So you've got your higher self, your future self, and your old self. The higher self, write the note from your higher self to your future self to remind you that the old self is going to try and self-sabotage. Lots of old selves and new selves, but that's a really important tip. And it helped me completely. It made me laugh, and I shifted and I went out and I followed through on that day's live stream. Okay, the next one is just stay focused on the present moment. See this as a one day at a time process. If you're trying to, follow through on an exercise regime, for example, you may wonder, no, let me scrap that. I'll tell you the scenario that I'm thinking of. This came from somebody who was sharing a story about how she went to an event and there was a guy on the stage who was an alcoholic. And he shared how he broke through his alcoholism and committed to a daily swim. I can't remember what the length of swim was, but it was a long swim. And he was doing these daily swimmings, and it was whilst he was breaking through his alcoholism. And the biggest tip that he shared was he just focused. He didn't say, tomorrow I'm going to not drink alcohol and I'm going to not follow through on my swim. Today, I'm not going to drink alcohol and I'm going to go for my swim. That's all he did, just today. He didn't think about what he's going to do tomorrow or the next day or the next day. He just stayed in the present moment. So today, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to worry about what I'm going to do tomorrow. It's just today. So follow through just by focusing on this present moment and what you can get done today. Okay, so the next thing is, depending on the activity, have a tune that you associate with that activity that will help you get into state. So really, if it's going running, for example, this is a really crap example, but going running, you might associate the Rocky theme. So you listen to the Rocky theme tune and then you go out for your run. And if you do that whilst the going's good, in those first few days when you're really excited, you start to create a neural association between that particular tune, that theme tune or song, and the activity you're wanting to embed. And so as you create that association, during those times when you're not in the mood and it's quite easy to start talking yourself out of doing it, put your headphones in, listen to the tune, get yourself into state, and that will help you to follow through that day. Okay, the penultimate tip here is to get some accountability. Tell someone you care about that this is what you're doing. It's not so easy to break your promises to somebody else as it is to break your promise to yourself. So when you tell somebody you care about, this is what I'm doing, please just keep me accountable. I don't want to let myself down, but I also don't want to let you down. That will just help you to follow through as well. And then the final one, this is one that came through from my live streaming. If you are a coach in business and you want to create daily consistent posting or daily consistent live streaming, then this will help you follow through on that and be consistent in your daily business activities. Focus on your ideal client. Keep your ideal client front and center of your mind, and that will take your mind off your own insecurities and your own kind of worries about your activity and your visibility fears. Because when you put your attention into your ideal client, you're thinking, what does my ideal client need to hear today? What is she struggling with or he struggling with that I can support and help and give some advice from my experience that will powerfully serve them? When you come from a place of giving, service, and contribution, that will enable you to push through your fears and maintain your consistency. So guys, I hope you found this helpful. If you can hit subscribe, if you're not subscribing to this channel, you found it helpful, hit the thumbs up button, like it, and hit subscribe. So every time I go live, you can get the download from me. Okay, guys, have an amazing rest of your day, and I will speak to you all again soon. Bye for now.